It's Thursday, January 15th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. The number of people staying in provincially operated hotel rooms has dropped. Security video captures a suspect throwing a grenade into a Sydney business.
Well, the rain and fog gives way to showers and flurries tomorrow. Temperatures turning colder heading into the weekend.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. There is evidence tonight, a program designed to get homeless individuals out of provincially paid hotel rooms and into long-term housing is working. Nova Scotia's minister responsible calls it a game changer. CTV's Jesse Thomas reports.
The province says the number of people staying in provincially funded hotel rooms have dropped dramatically over the past year, from more than 250 people to just 36, an 80% decrease. Officials credit the change largely to the province's master lease program, which helps people move into longer-term supportive housing.
When you're looking at people who are in emergency shelters for whatever reason, whether they're fleeing domestic violence or suddenly lost their job and become homeless, the most critical need is to feel safe. And so we had far too many people living in hotels with their families, and that was not something that any of us wanted to do.
Launched in 2024, the program sees the province and support agencies partner to lease housing units and then sublease to those who need housing for usually 30% of their income.
The master lease program has proven to be the most successful way to attach someone to a lease, and with the wraparound services, support them in maintaining that.
There are now about 320 supportive housing units across the province in the program that offers other wraparound services. Elizabeth Fry Society of Cape Breton has 12 units and say it's making a big difference in people's lives.
We know it's very difficult to work on your addiction or your mental health or all the situations that brought you into the prison or the criminal justice system if you don't have a place to live.
McEachern says the lack of affordable rentals has made it almost impossible for those with a criminal record to find and keep a place to live.
Giving people second chances while supporting them through it.
The province says the hotel rooms were always meant as a short-term emergency measure, not a permanent solution. They plan to expand the program. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
To Cape Breton now, and new video offers a look at an incident we reported on last week in Sydney when a grenade was found inside a downtown garage. CTV's Ryan McDonald has more on what security video captured overnight at the business.
CTV News has obtained a copy of some pretty striking security camera footage from that incident last week involving a grenade in downtown Sydney, one which shut down a couple of city blocks on that day. The video was shared with us and posted to social media by the people who run the car repair center on Pitt Street in Sydney, where Cape Breton Regional Police say a live grenade was found inside on the morning of January 7th. The first surveillance video is timestamped 3:29 a.m., though the garage owners say it was really an hour later. It appears to show someone firing a slingshot at the front door of the business, then unsuccessfully trying to bust open the window with their elbow. A few minutes later, the person is seen returning and breaking a hole in the window with what appears to be a hammer before tossing something inside and then sprinting away into the night. A third video shows what that looked like from the inside of the business. A flash of light can be seen when the item is dropped through the hole in the window just before the person outside the door runs away. Police say they were called to the scene at about 7:30 that morning, found a live grenade inside, and closed the area off for the day and evacuated some nearby businesses. An emergency alert was issued as well. Later in the day, at about 5 p.m., the grenade was detonated on site by a military explosives team that traveled down from Halifax. No arrests have been made in the case and no one was hurt. The business says that it's offering a $10,000 cash reward for information that leads to an arrest. We also contacted Cape Breton Regional Police today for any update about this, but they simply told us that this remains an ongoing investigation. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Sydney.
The Jansen Baker double murder trial continued today with testimony from RCMP officers who worked on the investigation. CTV's Derek Haggett continues his coverage from Moncton Court.
The Jansen Baker double murder trial continued this morning with the cross-examination of a police officer who worked on the investigation right from the start. And then the unexpected happened. A bomb scare at the Moncton Law Courts delayed the trial for over 90 minutes. The building was evacuated and staff and members of the public waited on the sidewalk across the street. A city bus was provided so people could get out of the rain. The trial resumed just after 11 o'clock. 29-year-old Jansen Baker has pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of a Dieppe couple. Rose Marie and Bernard Saunier were shot and killed inside their home on September 7, 2019. During today's testimony, an RCMP constable was asked by the defense about a meeting with Silvio Saunier, son of Bernard and Rose Marie. The witness was also asked if he investigated the case of Brady Sherman Tompkins, who disappeared in August of 2019. In 2022, police began investigating his disappearance as a homicide. In the afternoon session, another RCMP constable testified she attended the autopsies of the couple and viewed over 80 hours of video surveillance in the area from the morning of the murders. She too was asked about meetings with Silvio Saunier during the investigation. Silvio Saunier died in 2023, but foul play is not suspected in his death. The trial will continue on Monday. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
You can follow Derek's extensive reporting on this court case at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. There is a saying in real estate, location, 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 and few spots are better than the casino location in Halifax. So you'd expect buyers to be lining up for the waterfront property. But as CTV's Callum Smith reports, repurposing it is not a sure bet.
When Dalhousie University's School of Planning director heard the casino property would be sold, his first thought was
opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Since I came to Nova Scotia, I haven't seen a great opportunity site like this open up.
It's been a staple on the Halifax waterfront for decades. The property has been assessed at $48.5 million based on last January's PVSC assessment. Eric Rappaport says mixed-use development and open public space would be a good combination.
I'm thinking, basketball courts, some hardcore things, maybe some pickleball courts, really, truly recreational open space for people who are living in the downtown.
Especially with a promise to build 3,400 residential units across the street as part of the Cogswell redevelopment. But if the next buyer wants to do something entirely different, there's a massive job ahead.
It is a very unique property, and generally speaking, the more unique a property, the more it can present challenges for repurposing it.
And this commercial real estate consulting firm says a lot of thought would be needed.
Any new development there, a developer would have to consider, are we going to want to continue to be integrated into the pedway system? That's something that you want to take into account. What are we going to do about the waterfront there? We're going to continue to make that publicly accessible.
And publicly accessible space sounds like something that the Premier is in favor of, calling the waterfront unrivaled.
It's incredible. So obviously, a best use like that where people can enjoy it, can have something to be proud of.
But only one day after the official announcement, there's certainly no public decision yet on what will come.
I don't know that the province needs to own that waterfront property. It's an extremely valuable piece of of real estate, so we'll work through the best use of that.
Again, the casino's move across the harbour to Dartmouth Crossing was just announced yesterday, and the company, Great Canadian Entertainment, is hoping for an opening in 2029, a chance to really add to what's currently at Dartmouth Crossing. But what is clear is that they expect to be open in operation until the new build is finished, meaning any big change to Halifax's waterfront will be years down the road. Todd.
Yeah, there will be a lot of work to do there for sure. Callum in the news center tonight, thank you very much. There were some tense moments this morning on the island. 3 health clinics in eastern Prince Edward Island went into lockdown after a code silver alert was activated. Health PEI said in a release it understood there was a threat to a person and facility. Kings District RCMP later revealed Kings County Memorial Hospital was in lockdown due to a threat that led to the arrest of a suspect. There's a live look at, well, I think at St. John under all that water that's on the lens. Let's bring in Kaylin Mitchell, and they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. There we go.
Was raindrops falling across much of the Maritimes today. The only real snow from the weather system up in the far northwestern area of New Brunswick. And even there, I'm not really sure how much actually accumulated. I was taking a look at snow reports from an automated weather station in the Edmundston area, and the snow on ground sensor didn't change all that much throughout the day today, but it is possible that some localized areas up in that part of the Maritimes picked up some snowfall in the range of 10 to 15 centimeters. Otherwise, it was mostly rain being reported. The rain has started to total a little bit higher for areas of Nova Scotia, with some reports between around 10 and 25 millimeters, with some more wet weather to still come through tonight. We are not done with this weather system quite yet. There is going to be another round of rain that moves up from the south and into Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island during the overnight hours into Friday morning. It then clears out and is replaced by some scattered showers and some flurries. So let's talk more about what's left with this weather system. Additional rainfall amounts to come. In the southwest of Nova Scotia, it looks mostly like it'll be another 2 to 10 millimeters of rain. Same thing goes for western parts of Prince Edward Island, the east of Prince Edward Island, eastern areas of Nova Scotia. There may be some additional rainfall amounts in the range of around 10 to 20 millimeters. Plenty of fog expected around the Maritimes tonight. Now, the center of this weather system is moving off towards the northeast. It's going to be some very rainy and windy weather tonight and Friday for parts of Newfoundland. There's rain and wind warnings issued there. And on the northern part of this weather system, still some heavy snow to come across the Gaspé Peninsula in Quebec, Anacostia, and up towards the northern shoreline of the Gulf of St. Lawrence and southern areas of Labrador. Some snowfall warnings, some winter storm warnings have been issued. In some cases, expecting some snow in the range of around 15 to 25 centimeters, which, as you know, Todd, was what some parts of southern Ontario picked up out of this weather system. They ended up on the snowy side of it. But again, mostly rain for us.
Well, we'll have some pictures from Ontario. Toronto getting a good dump of snow today, which caused all kinds of problems, as you can appreciate. We'll talk about that in the main forecast a little later. Thank you. It's been a decade since the Sussex Potash mine closed, but could that change? The province certainly hopes so, but as CTV's Avery McRae reports, despite growing demand, the company is not as optimistic.
Potash once flowed from the Piccadilly mine just outside Sussex, but now it has been a decade since the rich resource was mined at this location.
We can't take something as valuable as the potash that's available here in New Brunswick and have it sitting not to the benefit of New Brunswickers.
But the company that owns the mine doesn't see that happening soon. Nutrien, based out of Saskatchewan, continues to employ upwards of 80 people on site to mine salt for de-icing roadways. But as it relates to potash, the company says currently there is no near-term path to safely and competitively mine potash at the Piccadilly facility. This will remain under long-term review.
I asked Nutrien back in October to help me understand more about what metrics have to change.
The minister gave Nutrien until the end of 2025 to detail what it would take to see potash mined again, but the year ended with no response. That prompted the minister to send a follow-up email to the company, where he stated it is not in the best interest of the province to have geological assets remain dormant.
If there isn't common ground or common understanding in that process, I could envision you could see a regulatory framework that would call upon that company to begin a process of either handing over, if it's in the form of a claim, or, and this would be far more complex, would be commencing a process where they would sell that geological asset.
Heron will unveil the province's new comprehensive mineral strategy in March, which would detail steps to reopen the site. Not only does New Brunswick want more from the Saskatchewan company, but Ottawa too, after the company announced plans to build a $1 billion export hub on the U.S. West Coast.
In the current context, I don't like that. We got to stop that from happening when we can. We're going to try and convince Nutrien to change their mind.
McKinnon says the feds are continuing to push potash producers to create more economic activity in Canada. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
With nearly 500 seniors in New Brunswick hospitals waiting for a nursing home bed, there are calls for the province to think outside the box for a cure. As CTV's Laura Brown reports, advocates argue the situation is now critical.
Cecile Casista is fed up.
I'm not hanging around to watch our seniors lie in these kinds of conditions. I want change, and I want it now.
The longtime seniors advocate feels people are blaming seniors for what's happening in hospitals across the province. As of December 31st, 450 seniors were waiting in hospital for a long-term care placement, according to Casista. She says the time for reports and studies is over. She's demanding a plan.
We need to deal with the assessments. We need to have a separate department for our seniors. Why do seniors have to continue fighting for justice? And that's exactly what's happening out there.
Last week, it was revealed a senior spent 3 days in an ambulance bay turned medical unit at Fredericton's Chalmers Hospital, where there's no running water or proper washrooms, little privacy, and the lights are on 24/7. The unit was created because over a third of the hospital's actual beds are being used by patients waiting for long-term care.
NB Housing builds public housing for people on low income. The Premier should give the mandate to NB Housing to build rapidly long-term care homes for people who desperately need them, to free up beds in our hospitals and to get those people out of the hospitals who are stuck there and declining.
For Green Party leader David Kuhn, it's a stopgap measure, but the solution is for the province to build more long-term care facilities quicker.
We're in the era of supposedly building infrastructure, build Canada, so we need to get going.
The Premier has promised a long-term care plan is coming early this year. According to Horizon Health's data, last week, just one patient waiting in hospital for long-term care was discharged. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
This is typically when maritime snowbirds flock south to escape the winter. Some have left, as usual, mostly for Florida, but others are not only not going, they're thinking about selling their properties down in the States. You can see the number there. CTV's Emma Convey spoke to some.
We had lots of memories there with them. And then the memories we have here from the park.
This time last year, Gwen and Paul Edmund were already unpacked for their 5-month stay in Florida. Things have changed. They plan to return in March to pack it all up for good.
I sort of feel the tension in the air. You know, some of our friends are feeling different and some are the same as us. And I just found it's not for me anymore.
After traveling south for years, they bought their first condo in 2011. Now their latest winter home is in a 55-plus park in Largo, Florida.
There's something every day for everyone that lives there, and there's there were a lot of Canadians in our park. Not quite so much now.
They too agree it's no longer for them. In a few weeks, they will return to sell their car and pack up their home. The deciding factor, the change in U.S. government. Now they want to expand their horizons and see more of the world.
I hear comments, you know, that they think it's a joke to talk about the 51st state and, you know, somebody who was told to get back in their car and head back to Canada.
Others like Martin Firestone, a Canadian who will spend the next 4 months in Delray Beach, Florida, says the only difference he's noticed is less travelers.
There are no lineups anymore like there used to be at restaurants or other attractions. So I guess in many ways to us personally, that's a positive, but to the owners of the businesses, maybe not so. So things are normal as ever.
As the president of a travel insurance company, he says more people are buying trip cancellation and interruption insurance.
The currency isn't going to change dramatically. There was a time Canadian was at par with U.S., even higher. I can't see that happening.
Some are content to stay, while others know the market is tough, so will hold tight. But for Paul and Gwen, they are ready to close the doors on their place in Florida. Emma Convey, CTV News, Halifax.
Thank you, Emma. We will take a commercial break now. Still to come, you heard Kalen. He's got more rain, drizzle, fog for just about everybody. He'll have the full forecast. But next, showdowns with ice are heating up.
Leave! Go home!
Minnesota is on the verge of violence, and the White House is threatening action. That story after the break. To the U.S. now, where the situation in Minneapolis is growing more tense by the hour. The White House is blaming local leaders, saying they're encouraging violence. ABC's Olivia Rubin reports that the city's mayor is calling for peace.
Walkouts today at some schools in Minneapolis, students protesting the immigration operations in Minnesota. The demonstrations coming as tensions are boiling over in the state following the deadly shooting of Renee Good.
Leave! Leave! Go home!
And on Wednesday, protesters clashing with law enforcement at the scene of another shooting involving a federal officer. The Department of Homeland Security claiming a federal law enforcement officer shot a Venezuelan man in the leg, saying he took off during a traffic stop and tried to evade arrest and violently assault an officer. Adding 2 other people joined in, attacking the officer with a snow shovel and a broom handle. DHS saying the officer fired to defend his life, hitting that man in the leg. Mayor Jacob Fry slamming the immigration operation, calling for peace.
For anyone that is taking the bait tonight, stop. We cannot counter Donald Trump's chaos with our own brand of chaos.
And President Trump now threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act, which would allow him to deploy the military on American soil. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz posting an appeal to the president on social media, writing, quote, "Let's turn the temperature down. Stop this campaign of retribution. This is not who we are."
But I would ask that the governor stops inciting the harassment and illegal obstruction of law enforcement in his state.
And the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche also trying to blame Democrats in Minnesota, saying he is focused on stopping what he says is their terrorism, saying that that is not a threat, but a promise. Olivia Rubin, ABC News, New York.
Still to come. Temperatures fall tomorrow in a gusty and colder, windy day. Kaylin has the details when we return. It's not the first snowfall, but they're calling it the first major snowstorm of the season to hit Toronto and some parts of southern Ontario. Police responded to more than 200 collisions in Canada's largest city. The always busy Don Valley Parkway was closed in both directions at one point in the day, so you can imagine the kind of headaches that created. That is a serious snowfall, Kayla Mitchell. I'll give them that. They tend to be prone to, I don't know, exaggeration sometimes in Toronto when it comes to snowfall, but I'll give them this one.
Yeah, this one would have caused us some inconvenience here in the Maritimes as well, because, while the overall snowfall totals, at least reports that I've gotten so far from and around the Toronto area, are just climbed over the 20-centimeter mark, it was accompanied for a good portion of that snowfall by some pretty gusty winds. So visibility was poor. There was a lot of drifting and blowing snow around. Temperatures were cold with it as well, and that creates very slippery surfaces.
And I should mention big issues at Pearson Airport, so if you have people coming or going out of there, you may want to check on those flights.
Let's take a look at how that weather system impacted things, basically from southern Ontario up towards southern Quebec. So Toronto's on the backside of it now. Basically, the snow there is wound down to some very light flurries. However, there is still some steady snow expected up past the Ottawa area and into western parts of the St. Lawrence River Valley, including up towards Mont Tremblant and Quebec City as we make our way through tonight and into Friday morning. The snow zone for this weather system did stretch from southern Ontario, including in around London, that was probably around or just over the 20-centimeter mark, through Toronto, Peterborough, up past Ottawa. I think Ottawa has cleared 15 centimeters at this time, and then again onto the western side of the St. Lawrence River Valley. Here in the Maritimes, though, we were, of course, on the mild and rainy side of this weather system in that southerly wind, all except that northwestern corner of New Brunswick, which did see some snow, though I imagine it was a wet snow, probably compacted down the ground pretty good as it came down. For the rest of tonight, we're expecting cloudy skies, more rain, drizzle, and fog for most of the region. Now, the steadiest of the rain, still to come, is approaching from the south of us, and that's going to fill in across Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island as we move through the overnight hours and into early Friday morning. Now, that round of rain will clear off towards the northeast as we move through Friday morning, replaced by a gusty and cold west and northwest wind. And as temperatures come down, the last part of that rain is going to be turning over to some flurries and even another area of snow across the north of New Brunswick. And in the snow in the north of New Brunswick for tomorrow, there could be some additional totals of between around 2 and 5 centimeters, maybe even 5 to 10 centimeters up in the higher terrain, locations between Campbellton and Bathurst. Now, as we make our way into Friday evening and Friday night, temperatures continue to come down. It's going to be cold. Be careful about wet surfaces or slushy surfaces turning icy. Here's a look at the winds in the forecast for Friday. They're going to be quite noticeable. They're going to be around from the west and the northwest, but you can see the gusts really pick up as we move from the morning into the afternoon. Widespread gusts tomorrow, 40 to 70 kilometers per hour. Some exposed areas of the southwestern coastline of Nova Scotia, even around Clark's Harbour, could peak with some gusts between 60 and 80 kilometers per hour. And it's that west-northwest direction that's returning colder air to the region. In the flurries for tomorrow, in most cases, accumulations are expected to be fairly light, except again the possibility of some amounts of 2 to 5 centimeters, locally maybe just over 5 centimeters in that higher terrain up in the north of New Brunswick. There will be another area of snow that moves into the Maritimes on Saturday, mostly developing late in the day, ongoing into the evening, and parts of the Maritimes could pick up some snowfall amounts of around 1 to 5 centimeters in that. Now, temperatures for tonight pretty mild for much of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Nova Scotia. It does get colder though in the north of New Brunswick. Tomorrow's temperatures are mildest first thing in the morning, and then those temperatures will fall as we go from the morning into the afternoon. So most of these temperatures you can see in the Maritimes on the plus side of the scale, around the low to mid single digits for Prince Edward Island, mid single digits for areas the east of Nova Scotia, around the low to mid single digits for northern and central parts of the province, and in the southwest. That's in the morning. And those temperatures will be falling towards and below freezing as we make our way through the afternoon. That gives us a little bit of a colder start to the weekend. For New Brunswick on Sunday, chance of some snow Sunday night into Monday, and after that a mix of sun and clouds, seasonably cold, and even a little bit below that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. For Nova Scotia in the outlook, watching for a mixture of snow and rain at the end of the weekend into Monday. After that it gets cold again, flurries in the forecast for Tuesday and a mix of sun and cloud for Wednesday and Thursday. And for Prince Edward Island at the end of the weekend, some snow possible Sunday night and into the start of next week on Monday. And flurries expected on Tuesday, cold with a mix of sun and cloud Wednesday and Thursday, Todd.
Minus double-digit days. We're really going to feel that after this stretch.
Yeah, we're have to get sort of like reacclimatize all over again after this mild weather we've had. As
Dave Phillips, the senior climatologist, Environment Canada, always said, we've never missed a winter. So we should expect that, and we know the snow will come back too. All right, we'll see you for the wake-up weather later. Next, we'll talk about how many Canadians and how many Maritimers are falling victim to scams. And we have this on the scene.
Hi, I'm Elise Aaron, a singer-songwriter from Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia, and I've got a brand new record coming out called Everybody Loves You on February 26th. On the 28th, I'll be having a big album release show in Sydney, and I'm going to tell you all about the record and the show coming up right here later on.
Welcome back. We've done a lot of reporting on this. We've heard it time and time again from police. More Canadians, more Maritimers falling victim to scams of all sorts. Narrative Research conducted a survey on this. Margaret Chapman is partner at the research firm, and she joins us. Nice to see you. Is it too late to say Happy New Year?
I don't think so. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I want to read the opening line of your report. It says, only 3 in 10 Canadians say they have personally fallen victim to any type of scam. And I thought, 30% is only? That's significant. People have actually been hit by scammers.
Yeah, I think you're right. In hindsight, I think I probably would have written that a little differently. It's a lot of people that have actually fallen victim to some kind of scam, whether it's a phishing attempt or online scam or phone scam.
And your respondents, the 1,200 respondents, and some of them, many of them, many more than that even, know somebody either within their family or, close connections who have fallen victim?
Yeah, about half of people know someone else who's fallen victim. And that's not talking about how many people are actually targeted. That number is much, much higher, which gives rise to a lot of concern.
We're pretty trusting sorts, we Canadians. Does that hurt?
Probably, although our results really show that people are A, concerned, and B, pretty vigilant about taking action, doing a lot of things to try and protect themselves from just being skeptical about things that come in, that phone number that you don't recognize, or that email that sounds too good to be true. People are becoming wary of those sorts of things.
Is there one group, age group, gender, demographic that seems to be more susceptible to falling prey to these?
Yeah, that's what was really interesting in these results. It's really across the board.
Okay.
So age-wise, across the country, gender, income, education level, it's really across the board.
Is there a risk of, you're saying people were getting better at recognizing these, or at least being skeptical. Did you get any sense from the respondents that we risk moving into paranoia? You know, if suddenly now, if you'll only answer the phone if it's a number that you recognize, for example.
Yeah, I think it's a fine line. So a lot of people, almost everyone, told us they're doing something to try and protect themselves. And the main things that people are doing are just being really wary and kind of looking closely, being a little conservative about whether they believe something that's come in. And that's where it kind of starts to tread the line of where legitimate businesses that are doing outreach to the public have trouble convincing people that things are real.
Well, you've got a good example of that.
Yeah, so in our business, we reach out to people for their opinions, and we often offer contests to try and incent people to take part. And it's actually really hard to convince people that they're legitimately the winners of those contests. People are so skeptical that because it sounds too good to be true. So I applaud people for being wary and cautious, but at the same time, I think we need to make room for businesses to actually do their
Geez,
fly their
Margaret,
trade.
we're in trouble if you can't give away money.
Right. Yeah.
Is there, you know, again, looking at demographics, is one cohort perhaps better at being proactive? Or, you know, again, is it across the board?
It's the only area actually in all of these results that we saw any demographic differences. Actually, women and people over the age of 55 tend to be more proactive in taking action, changing their passwords more often, making sure that their operating system is up to date, and then again, those kind of reading things very carefully when they come in, or being really cautious when they get a phone call from a number that they don't recognize.
Yeah, that's interesting. Any insight as to why that might be?
Probably because of just how things have advanced. So technology is making scams much more difficult to track, and I think people are probably on the defensive a little bit and taking action. Yeah.
You've talked about the telephone, email, of course, texts, AI increasingly being used for scamming. Is there a favorite method that you find people are trying to be duped with? That the scammers employ?
Yeah, you look at the statistics that we have nationally on the number of people that are falling victim to these kinds of crimes, and it's really a whole variety, from phone scams, romantic scams, online emails that are unsolicited, and then those kind of phishing attempts.
It's all about money. Right?
For sure, yeah. So someone trying to get something from someone, preying on someone who's not being as careful, absolutely.
Would you have any, I know this is sort of stepping outside your wheelhouse maybe, but based on what your respondents told you and the data you collected, advice?
Well, I know at our company we employ a professional IT company that offers training and puts us through scenarios all the time, and I think for business people that's a really good practice to make sure that we're constantly evolving and practicing being skeptical and catching phishing attempts. And for individuals, I think there's lots of resources that you can reach out to, businesses that offer those kinds of services, just to keep you on your toes and make sure you're aware of the kinds of scams that are evolving.
Evolving. That's the perfect word, because we know they are, and we're hearing about them all the time from police, and it's hard to stay on top of everything that's happening. So thank you very much. Interesting numbers. We'd love to see those come down, and maybe your next polling will take a look at that as well. Margaret Chapman, Narrative Research, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with more of your newscast after this. In health headlines tonight, new research shows female family doctors spend more time with patients, but it's costing them. CTV's Amanda Debison has the details in tonight's edition of The Lifeline.
A new study says female family doctors in Ontario spend more time with patients than their male colleagues. Researchers found female family doctors spend about 4 minutes longer per patient than male doctors for the most common type of examination. The research, published in the Canadian Family Physician Journal, also says many of the women earn less money as a result. The head of Ontario Medical Association says the current fee-for-service system rewards volume and leads to less time spent with patients. Researchers found female family doctors spend 15 to 20% more time with patients, leading to an estimated $45,000 difference in annual income. On the West Coast, British Columbia is ending its 3-year drug decriminalization pilot, saying it did not deliver the results the province hoped for. The province's health minister says the program was meant to help people seek care, but became too difficult to sustain amid public concern. Critics blame the policy for increased public drug use, while advocates say overdoses can't be tied to any single factor. The program officially ends January 31st as the province shifts focus to treatment and recovery. Finally, have you ever wanted to go off the grid for a few days? Well, there's a new app that might think you're dead if you do. It's called Are You Dead? And it's for people who live alone. It's gone viral in China with surging downloads, prompting the company to introduce a subscription fee. The company behind it says it's designed to be a safety tool created for people who live alone. The app requires you to set up one emergency contact and sends automatic notifications if the user hasn't checked in on the app for consecutive days. With health and medical news, I'm Amanda Debison for The Lifeline.
We're on the scene with Katie. Kelly, we're going to start with some good news. This is great. Elise Aaron, who you followed, her situation was terribly unfortunate, but she's heading back to the stage after that motorcycle accident last summer.
Yes, it's great news. She's now set to drop a new album and celebrate with a hometown show in Cape Breton.
I've been picking up my guitar daily, you know, even if it's just for a few minutes, just to find that confidence again.
Just a few short months ago, Elise Aaron wasn't sure what her next chapter would look like.
I think just because of the type of person I am, I knew whatever it was, I would come back from it. But I did have some fears. Like, I hope I can still sing the way I used to sing, and I hope that I can get back up there on stage with the vibrance and energy that I used to have.
The Cape Breton rocker was involved in a motorcycle collision near her Glace Bay home.
Crazy, I don't remember anything from the night of. The first thing I remember between leaving the restaurant that night is waking up in Halifax the next morning.
The damage was extensive.
I had a broken left arm, a broken right ankle, jaw fracture and multiple fascial fractures, and a concussion. I had orthopedic surgery to have a titanium rod put in my humerus and screws in my right ankle. Also had my orbital floor rebuilt on my face here and my jaw realigned, and had to have my jaw wired closed for a couple weeks.
Tell me how to solve it, tell me that I'm worth it. I got what's mine and I found why I earned it.
It all happened at a time when her career was really taking off.
I was thinking about getting back on the road to promote my brand new record that was supposed to be coming out in October.
But as Maritimers do, the community rallied around her. A GoFundMe raised thousands of dollars, and support came from all directions.
It was a little overwhelming, and it was really reassuring that, you know, I can get through this and I should fight through this because people care. And it was really uplifting.
Less than 6 months later?
Well, I can't help but to be a tiny bit nervous because it'll be my first time on stage since August, which feels kind of crazy.
When I said forever, I meant every letter. Can't forgive myself for the way that I left it.
Fans will finally get a live taste of Everybody Loves You.
Looking at February 26th is the album release date. And 2 days later, on the 28th, I'll be having a big hometown show here at Member 2 Trade and Convention Center. And we've pretty much sold that out. And I can't wait to get there and celebrate this record.
As for the nerves?
there is a little bit of concern, like, am I going to remember? Is my body going to remember what to do when I get up there? But I am mostly excited because this show is going to be with my closest people, people who have been there from the very beginning.
And she wants everyone to know their support made all the difference.
They're the people that made me feel like everything I was working so hard for is worth it and it means something, and I can do it again and keep going.
That is quite a recovery.
I'm so proud of her. She has worked so hard over the last 6 months to make this happen. And of course, all while still trying to be active on social media, put out music, and now of course planning this show. So yeah, good luck to her. I think there might be, and don't even quote me on this, there might be like 1 or 2 tickets left. We've got all the details and a link to Elise Aaron's website on our website for more details, but pretty awesome.
It's tough for musicians. They're independent business people as well.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah, that GoFundMe I'm sure really helped and people really got behind it, so.
Not surprising.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Here's what's on CTV tonight. In the business report, the Dow found itself up 292 points when it closed for the day. The Canadian Real Estate Association says it expects the housing market to pick up this year. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has the details.
The association says pent-up demand from first-time buyers will lift the market in 2026. Lower interest rates and prices could also help. The association predicts sales will increase by 5% this year, with the biggest gains coming for BC and Ontario. It also forecasts the average home price increasing by just under 3%. The Canadian auto sector dragged down manufacturing sales in November. Statistics Canada says total manufacturing sales dropped just over 1%, but sales of vehicles fell almost 16%. A shortage of semiconductors disrupted work at one major Canadian plant, which added to the impact of trade problems and lower demand. Bombardier is building a new plant in Quebec. The jet maker will invest $100 million on a new manufacturing center near Montreal. Bombardier makes business jets like the Challenger. The company says there is growing demand for its aircrafts. The plant will open in 2027. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to $71.95. West Texas Intermediate down $2.80 to $59.08. Western Canadian Select up over $1 to $47.51. And the TSX gained 112 points today to hit a new record close above 33,000 for the first time. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Galen Mitchell's on the weather deck with one more look at the forecast, Galen.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. I brought the umbrella out just in case, but we're in that little bit of a break right now. Remember, there is another round of rain that'll be working its way into Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island overnight into Friday morning. Let's take a look at a viewer picture for tonight, and this picture takes us to Miramichi, and it's after this past weekend, after Miramichi picked up some freezing rain, and you can see the icy conditions bowing the trees there. This is from Dale Hubbard. I want to thank Dale very much for taking the time to share this picture. Miramichi for tomorrow. By the morning, temperature should be down to 0, so be careful about icy spots. There'll be some flurries off and on throughout the day, maybe with some snowfall amounts of up to around a few centimeters. Temperatures will fall into the afternoon in a gusty northwest wind. Day planner for tomorrow for the Maritime region. Expect a rainy start to the day for Prince Edward Island and most of Nova Scotia. Now, that rain is going to be moving off towards the northeast as we move from the morning into the afternoon. And Friday afternoon for the Maritimes will remain mostly cloudy with scattered flurries except for some light snow in northern areas of New Brunswick. You can see the temperatures coming down across the region, and that will happen in a west and northwest wind that'll have some gusts between 40 and 70 kilometers per hour. So that'll be very noticeable tomorrow. Todd.
Very good. Thank you for the heads up on that. We will see you tomorrow. Have a good night, Keelan. And finally for us this evening, a 4-person crew of astronauts is back on Earth after their mission to the International Space Station was cut short because of a medical condition. The crew splashed down in the Pacific Ocean near San Diego in the middle of the night, capping off a 10-hour descent from the ISS. The plan to bring the crew home weeks ahead of schedule was announced a couple of weeks back, and it marks the first time NASA has had to cut a mission short because of a medical emergency. The space agency says the crew member in question is doing just fine. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco is behind the desk at 11:30, and ctvnewsatlantic.ca has our updates anytime. Don't forget, we're live on Crave. I'm Todd Battis. Thanks for joining us. See you for the Friday edition. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.